moving, and that is Giannis Antetokounmpo. And it doesn't seem like that's going to happen because our Shams Charania reporting that the Milwaukee Bucks, they have pivoted. They have moved on from trading Giannis ahead of the deadline. And so they're keeping him on this roster. They're making other moves to try to fortify this team for now around Giannis. So for more on Milwaukee, let's bring in our reporter, Jamal Collier, who covers this team for us day in and day out. Jamal, now that we know that Giannis, he's staying past the trade deadline, what is the outlook here for this Milwaukee Bucks team?
Malika, just simply here, they just didn't feel the urgency to have to do this now. And we reported that Giannis has really been made it known to the Bucks that it's time for a new home in the this deadline or in the offseason. But without putting that pressure on Milwaukee to have a deal done before the rest of the season, the Bucks are able to extend this and go into the offseason where both sides are expected to revisit a deal again. They have been signaling to teams throughout here that they still want to add, with a little bit to go before the deadline. But the biggest thing for the Bucks, they're going to have more draft capital going forward in the offseason to potentially trade. They're going to potentially have a good draft pick of their own if they can. They're currently out of the play-in tournament as well. And they have not given up the idea of salvaging the Giannis era here in Milwaukee. It's going to be a tension point here for the rest of the season, though. Giannis does expect to play. He's out with that calf strain right now. He does want to play at some point again through the rest of the season, regardless if the Bucks are in a play-in tournament potential or not. That is going to create just a sort of a different, views here with the Bucks maybe trying to get a position for a draft pick and Giannis hoping to compete and win as many games as possible before the end of the season. But where we stand currently, Giannis is going to remain a Buck, and these two sides are going to sort of revisit this thing in the offseason and see where exactly both sides land up.
Jamal, I hear you say this could create some different views. That sounds maybe like a gulf between what the Milwaukee Bucks need, which is a high draft pick, and Giannis Antetokounmpo wanting to be on the floor, which is exactly who Giannis is and why we all enjoy watching him play so very much. Jamal, thank you for that insight. Rona, did I hear that right, though? That sounds like a pretty big gap between Giannis wanting to be on the floor and the Milwaukee Bucks knowing as much as they want to continue to build around Giannis, they kind of need that top pick.
Yeah, I think that was some of the leverage here and the urgency for the Bucks to do a deal, but that's obviously not because the guy, Giannis, he's not going to sit out. Look, I talked to one of the teams that was trying to get Giannis, and they said they never felt Milwaukee was all that serious about dealing with because that team, they didn't say what they wanted for Giannis. They just said, you don't have enough. There was no, usually when teams are serious about making a trade, they say, we want at least 4 picks. We want 2 good young players. There was never the counter there. And I think part of that is because of what's going on organizationally there. There's Wes Edens is the controlling owner there. Jimmy Haslam has a lot of shares there. And I think there was some owner-to-owner conversation with Jimmy Haslam involved, but Wes Edens is the controlling owner.
Did it ever get serious? What it sounds like you're saying is it never really got to a serious stage with anybody.
I think serious enough that the Bucks listened, serious enough that they had conversations, and that was almost a non-starter before this last little period here. But if you're not really making counters, if you don't tell other teams, here's the red line. You cross that line, you got a deal. Then you're not all that serious about it. And the person who I spoke to, they said, when you're going to make a trade, you do what Memphis did, right? Okay, we're going to trade Jaren Jackson Jr. We want 3 picks.
Say what you want.
Say what you want.
Yep.
They never said what they want in a way that they would actually do a deal.
And now we're here. So I guess, Coach, how the heck? I'm going to put you in Doc Rivers' shoes, right? Giannis wants to play when he's healthy, when he's better. That 4 to 6 week mark puts him sometime maybe March, right? Giannis wants to play. The organization doesn't. What the heck do you do?
Hey, we had Doc on recently, and he said he couldn't wait for the trade deadline to be over. Well, sorry, Doc, this is not going away.
Yeah, this is going to continue.
So this is going to continue to be there. And my thing is this. I want my cake and eat it, too. So Giannis is saying we've come to a point where I think I need to go elsewhere because I want to win a championship. So if I'm Milwaukee, I'm saying, cool, we understand that. But we have to do what's best for our future. So we've done everything we can. This is coming to an end. And part of the future is getting the best draft pick in a great draft coming up. So that's an honest conversation and one that needs to be had immediately. Because if we're making a decision and Giannis says, I want out, cool, we'll send you out. But we got to do what's best for us now. It's no longer about what's best for Giannis. We have to protect our organization and our fans and our future. And that's getting a pick in a loaded draft.
Well, all of those discussions will play out based on if he plays or not. And if he plays, the conversation is we might try to do something to enhance while you're here. And if he doesn't play, the conversation was we're going to figure out how to move you. So we also don't want you to possibly get hurt. And because you've had the injuries as well.
This has been nagging.
So, but if he plays, I've been on some really precarious situations in the NBA. I played with one of the great players in basketball, Robert Horry. He was traded to the San Antonio Spurs. The trade was rescinded because Sean Elliott didn't pass the physical when he came to Houston. He came back to Houston the very next day.
The Lakers had that situation
and
last
year. And he played, and we won a championship, and he was a key member of that.
Yeah.
So as a professional athlete, the reason why you are one of the top 400 players in the world, you're able to figure out adversity, and you're able to deal with it and get through it. So we don't know what will happen.
Speechless. I mean, because they're in a bad situation, right? Like, Giannis decides to come back. We're talking about one of the greatest power forwards of all time, like top 5 right now. And if he decides to come, says that he wants to play, who the hell is going to have a conversation and tell him he can't play?
Yeah.
Like, who's going to tell him that he can't play?
Is there any worry now, though, that he's had this? Giannis, when I was in Milwaukee, when I was covering this team day in and day out, he was Iron Man, right?
Yeah.
When you think back to that series 1, when he played the Atlanta Hawks, when he hyperextended his knee, when everyone was bracing for the absolute worst, he was back in a handful of games because that's the durability of Giannis Antetokounmpo. But now this has been adding up a little bit. So is there any, not just protect an asset, but protect the person and the player who's come back a couple of times because we know how badly he wants to play and it hasn't gone well so far?
There's also a player participation policy, too. If he's loud about saying, I want to play, and they're not letting me play, he falls into the category where the league could get involved here. Yeah. I just think, though, like, look, if you're Milwaukee and you're going to trade a generational superstar, everybody's got to be on board. Every owner, the GM, the coach, everybody's got to feel good about it. And they're not organizationally in that place yet. Because, like, I play poker, right? If I'm going to go all in, I want to be pushing my chips all in.
Wear sunglasses? Like, what kind of poker?
No,
or you do it.
I don't want to call the all in. I want to push
anybody. You don't tell anybody that this happens with Luka. So it's a lot of ways to skin the cat, and I agree with what you said, but there's a lot of ways to skin the cat in terms of making trades and how things happen.
That has come up with Dallas, okay? The Dallas Mavericks made a trade of a generational superstar right after an ownership change. They let Nico Harrison do the trade. Where is he now? Do you want to be the GM who trades the next generational superstar when you don't necessarily know if there's organizational stability and everyone's behind you?
And there is an understanding that in markets like Milwaukee, as amazing of success as Giannis has brought to this team, you have to get back the best possible return. You have a responsibility because oftentimes you aren't building those same teams in free agency.
Yeah, I've never taken a vacation in Milwaukee.
You could start now, Kenny. It's not too late.
It's not as a bad city.
Well,
never.
It doesn't seem like Giannis is happening, but James Harden to a Eastern Conference contender has. More on that after this.